All right. Well, welcome to our SEADLink Member Spotlight. So today we have Asia Debruyn. So Asia is an active member who provides outside outstanding influence and contributions to the Mindful Seed community. So as a thanks, we are featuring her in this month's SEADLink Member Spotlight. So welcome, Asia.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here to share my knowledge with people and a little bit about myself. I've been teaching since 1999. I've worked as a teacher, an administrator, I'm a teacher trainer, I'm a conference presenter, and currently I'm part of the Matter Academy East Early Childhood CTE program.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for kind of giving us a quick bio of yourself. So do you mind, you started off, what made you decide to become an educator?
I think being the only girl in a family of boys, sort of it was thrust upon me like, hey, can you teach your little brother how to tie his shoes? And can you help your other little brother, learn his ABCs? And I think just that it was just so natural, it was just such a part of who I was, just kind of sharing what I knew with my siblings. And I took I think it's called an aptitude test in high school. It's like, what careers would you probably be successful at? And teacher was one of them. And I thought, oh, I don't really want to do that. Like they're always poor. And so I actually went into interior design first. And that was my first career. And I actually figured out that I liked the design part, but not the client's part of that. So then I went back to school and I thought, okay, I guess I'm going to give this education thing a try because that's really where I'm happiest. And I haven't looked back since.
Cool. Yeah, I remember when you did your time for seed talk that you had mentioned that you're very intentional with how you set up your classroom and
Yeah.
you had that background, which is really cool, a cool perspective. So this is your second career. So what have you enjoyed most about this career, your second career?
I think the thing I like most is working with families, students and families, and just getting them to understand how learning occurs and that every child sort of learns in their unique way and how we need to differentiate things for that student and getting parents to understand like what's realistic for their student sometimes and helping them to help their child to be their best self. And I think that that really brings me the most joy is when I can work with a family and get them to really support their child at home and to see like how important that support and that structure is. And I just love working with the families that might have a learner who might be struggling a little bit and who doesn't really enjoy school, and being able to turn that around so that now their student loves coming to school and they can't wait to work on this project or that project, and really just seeing that joy kind of come back. And that's really, I think, my favorite part.
Yeah, for sure. That makes a lot of sense. Kind of on the flip side of that, what has been your biggest challenge as an educator and how have you overcome it?
Wow. I mean, I think a lot of teachers would say admins, and I think having been an admin, I have to agree with them. It's very difficult. I think we're kind of working an uphill battle here with traditional school in America, in the fact that we have put a lot of emphasis on testing and performance and data and standards. And in doing that, we've lost a little bit of the humanity, I think, in teaching. And that's kind of my biggest thing that I don't think I've even overcome yet, is trying to get people to understand that learning is a lifelong process, just like SEL is a lifelong process. And if you sort of tamp down that passion for learning too early, then you have like a third, fourth grader who doesn't want to come to school anymore, who doesn't find value in their own education. And I think that is something that we're seeing now, especially post pandemic, is that we have these children coming to school who aren't really ready or willing to be here quite yet, and that that's sort of adding to the mental health crisis that we have. So I don't even think I've really overcome that one, but I don't think anybody has either. So we're all kind of in the same boat with that.
Yeah.
I think right now is getting that, where's that balance of a holistic education with being able to still provide good data and have good outcomes, that those, that the admins or the districts are looking for.
Yeah, I think that's a really good perspective to be like, we haven't overcome it yet. It's something we get to kind of, um, maybe overcome day by day and also have more discussions about. I really appreciate that perspective. So you had mentioned SEL is kind of similar, a lifelong process. So how did you first learn about SEL and maybe connected to that? What made you decide to become a mindful seed coach?
Well, so I started my career and my teaching and my student career. I went to Montessori school almost my entire life, from pre-K through like 8th grade. I went to Montessori school, and then I majored in Montessori education. I got a master's degree in educational leadership. I ran a Montessori school for 14 years. I served on several Montessori educational boards. And I mean, Dr. Montessori has what she called the grace and courtesy lessons, and that's basically what SEL is. She just didn't really put a name on it, and that was back in 1907 when she opened her first school. So that's something that we've sort of been doing as part of our holistic approach to education this whole time. Um, and then, when the core competencies came around, it was like, oh, this makes total sense in my brain because we've already kind of been doing this, and our school communities already embrace this type of, structure and learning and lessons and things that we want children to know. And so I think that was my first introduction to SEL was, I guess, indirectly through Montessori education and experiencing it as a child, knowing that, these were part of things that I learned as a child. And then when the core competencies came out, being able to integrate those to a more like traditional school setting, and then being able to use that framework to get people to understand why the work is important, and being able to show some data and having some different organizations behind it, right? Like Castle, and being able to have some legitimacy to like why we do these practices. And so how I became a seed coach was, I'm just sort of working with traditional public schools and thinking, we're really at a point where, we have these children who are enormously stressed out. They have very poor social skills, and what can we do to combat that? And it's being able to integrate the core competencies into our school day. So I like to call it SEL from bell to bell, right? So from bell to bell, from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, from the beginning of the class to the end of the class, like SEL's for every grade level, it's for every subject level, and then getting teachers to understand like how to make that work for their classroom, no matter what they teach. So I have teachers that I've worked with who are high school algebra teachers. And then I have, like a 1st-grade ELA teacher, and trying to show them how to work within their content level that they have to be teaching, but also how to incorporate some of these very important components, that make SEL like a livable, thing in their classroom.
Yeah, definitely. That's cool. Coming from Montessori background, I could totally see that connection. I guess this is kind of connected to what you've already shared already, but how have you found SEL and Mindful Seed have helped you personally?
I think what's great about it is that it's this wonderful community of like-minded people who really feel very passionately about what we're doing. And that sense of community, is really helpful when there are those days when I think, I've worked with the teacher, I've explained how the competencies work, I've given them some ideas of how to incorporate things into their lessons. And then the teacher's like, oh, I forgot. Oh, I didn't do it. Oh, we're going to do it on Tuesday for 15 minutes. And I'm like, no, that's not what I'm trying to tell you to do. Like, that's not what we want. We want you to like realize, have this, in Montessori, we call it the transformation of the teacher. It's like, supposed to be this moment, right? Where you think, I really want to get the best out of my students. So here's the, the changes that I'm going to make. And then kind of being down when like you don't see that, and then being able to like pop on the SEADLink website and read a really great post, or, have an event where we kind of get together and the other people are kind of talking about their day. And, it's just a lot of really great people working together, I think, for a common goal. And it's nice to have that sort of sense of community behind you, even if you don't have it in like your day-to-day work, for
Yeah.
sure.
For sure. Yeah. And I totally feel that. I think there's like a tag, this share the seed love. Like I definitely can feel that kind of community in the SeaDLink space. Kind of connected to that, are there any topics you'd like to talk about more with your fellow kind of educators in SeaDLink?
I think we had this sort of conversation, I think, on one of our, maybe it was our coaching meeting, but, how can we get like districts and the people at the top of the pyramid, right? The people who can make us really be able to do like bigger and better things, like how to get them involved and how to get them to see the value in our work. And I know that a lot of us, might be working with admins that maybe are a little bit reluctant because this isn't something that there's no standardized test for SEL, right? It's not part of SBAC. It's not part of MAP testing. It's not part of your SATs. You know what I mean? And so I think sometimes some admins are a little bit hesitant to put more time and effort into these types of programs that we're talking about, or these new curriculums that we're really, passionate about. And I think a lot of the community would like to see, how we can get more admins involved,
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. The ones who aren't kind of the front line in the classroom, like how do you get them to see the benefit? Uh,
Right.
Yeah, I liked what you said, there's no SAT questions. In my head, I was like, what would it look like to have a SAT question about SEL? It's like, okay, your classmate just said something mean. How are you gonna,
Right.
regulate your emotions?
Yeah.
Multiple choice. Oh, all the above.
Right. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to stab him with a
Yeah,
pencil. I'm going to.
that's great. I love that idea. So kind of looking back, over your kind of years of experience, if you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be? Like just starting out in education.
I think I think a lot of newer teachers do this, and I'm a old lady now, but not spending so much time taking things home. There are things that can definitely wait. There are things that you just don't burn yourself out over it. That parent that said that mean thing, like learning how to let that go and not let it ruin your weekend or your vacation, or things like that. And definitely when I was a newer, younger teacher, I think I just thought, I'm going to be a superhero, right? I'm going to get all this work done. I'm going to take all these things home over the weekend. Like I can do it. I can do everything. And then, finding myself being like exhausted and feeling overworked, and then, not having as much joy in my day as I used to. So now when I'm mentoring, newer teachers or younger teachers, I tell them, your contract hours are up. And that's okay that you didn't get it all done. You can try it again tomorrow, and letting that be okay. You know what I mean? You can't just carry the weight of everyone around with you all day. It's not sustainable. You have to let some things go, and you have to prioritize, and you have to be able to self-regulate yourself, to be able to say, is taking, all this stuff home really going to be beneficial for me this weekend? Is that going to help me, with my self-care and like my restorative practices? So
Yeah.
I'd probably tell myself like, girl, it's okay. Let it go.
I think that's great advice. I think definitely there's a temptation to think if I don't do this, there's some sort of terrible thing that's going to happen if I don't do it right now. But I also think on the flip side, there's not many times where we are like, wow, I accomplished everything today and there's nothing left to do. I don't think anyone in any job says that.
Right.
But yeah, that's good advice. Okay, best question for last.
Okay.
Imagine a day without work, the internet, and any other obligations. What would you do?
Drink tequila on a beach.
Ooh, that sounds
That's
nice.
really, so I have spring break coming up, and that's pretty much my plan. I'm going to Cancun to an all-inclusive resort where I'm just going to have like snacks and drinks just brought to me in my lounge chair. And that's my goal.
That sounds great. Sign me up. Just kidding. I won't crash your vacation. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us, Asia, and for being a part of Mindful Seed.
Of course, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.